Cash is not king. It's a hot take, I know, and a lot of you aren't going to agree with me, and I'll explain why. It isn't just because it is the least preferred form of payment at a car dealership. Cash is king is a phrase that's been around since the late 19th century. Current financial system that we live in, I disagree that cash is king. Let me be clear. I do believe that cash is important. It's good to have liquidity, and I don't think that everybody should be in debt up to their eyeballs. Other than real estate, where it might be the deciding edge to win you an offer over somebody that has financing contingency, I don't think that it makes sense to have. And by the way, in real estate, you're buying something that appreciates in value over time, which is why I think that paying cash for a property, whether it's an investment or your primary residence, makes a ton of sense. But in other situations, cash just doesn't make sense to me. Especially in periods of high inflation like we're in now, cash becomes less valuable every day. As inflation rises and the cost and the pricing of goods and services goes up, that cash has less buying power. So even if it's invested in something that might be in line with inflation or barely outpacing it, or in line with an interest rate that you can get, or barely outpacing it, having that invested and allowing it to grow and work for you, I think pays dividends down the road. The reason that I think paying cash for a car is foolish is not for my own selfish reasons. Of course, let's be clear, banks do pay us referral fees for arranging financing with them. Everybody knows that. But cars depreciate. That has always been the case, unless you're buying something extremely rare and very valuable, which there's not many of those out there. Cars become less valuable every day that you own them. So why would you want to turn hard-earned cash into a depreciating asset? That to me just doesn't make sense. Now for people that it does make sense for, great. I totally get it. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just trying to explain why I say that cash isn't king and why I truly believe that. Interestingly, the people and places where I hear cash is king come from the most often are from people that have insane amounts of money where they literally would potentially never have to borrow money at any point in their lives. Either that's inherited money or money that they've accumulated over time from being extremely successful in business, and now they're at a point where they have so much cash that the need to take on debt almost doesn't exist for them. And I think it's a little disingenuous for people that are in that position to be giving advice to, the majority of us that need to be able to borrow money. Now, to take it a step further, the economy and the financial system that we live in requires borrowing money in many, many cases. And if you don't have a well-diversified and strong credit history, you're going to have a very hard time borrowing money when you need it. It's all well and good to say that cash is king, but for people that run out of that cash for whatever reason, if they've been paying cash for things their entire life and now they need to borrow money, they may not have the ability to do that. So using debt responsibly, I think, is hugely important because it gives you a lot of buying power and it allows you to have flexibility in times where maybe cash is at a premium. So this is a little bit off the wall topic for me. I normally don't talk about it, but it does come up a lot in cars. Now, I'm never going to penalize somebody for how they want to pay for the vehicle. If they want to lease it, they want to finance it, they want to pay cash. The only thing that might potentially change is an incentive that they do or don't qualify that could be contingent on the type of deal of the form of payment. And Mercedes does have some incentives that apply for one type of purchase and not another. But I believe that paying cash for cars, to me, it doesn't make sense. They depreciate. So the way I look at it is that even if you pay cash for it, if you pay 50 grand for something today and 3 years from now it's worth 30, then you lost 20 grand. It cost you $20,000 over a 3-year period. So you can try to argue that you own something, but you own something worth 50 today that becomes worth 30 in a couple of years. In the meantime, that money could have been invested for you in other ways, and that's why I believe that cash is not king. And again, it's not just because dealers would like to help you arrange financing. It's because the financial system that we live in just doesn't support the financial system we live in. You need to have a good credit score. You need to be able to use credit responsibly. You don't have to have a ton of debt, but trust me when I tell you that you want to have the option to take out a loan if and when you need to at any point in your life. And the only way that you get there is by building a strong credit profile, and cash isn't going to help you in that scenario.